Hello and welcome to the show. I'm going to start with a bit of an apology. I've lost the replay for the first race of this event. I thought I'd saved it, apparently not. Husky doesn't have it, and the few people I've managed to get hold of also don't seem to have it. So yeah, I can't. It's gone. The replay is lost. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it was quite late notice as well. I was trying to find this like late Sunday night. Yeah, I can't find the first replay. It appears to have vanished, so I do apologise. It was a shame because we ran at the Tsukuba short circuit. It was a really good race on the most part. I got broken from lag, but apart from that, it was a really good race. So yeah, that is a bit of a disappointment. I do apologise. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Also, my throat is currently dying, which is really quite nice. So if there is a slight sort of odd sound cut in this video at any point, it means I had to take a break and recover my voice before I carried on. So yeah, sorry about that. I've also got a cup of tea here, standing by in case things start going downhill, because you know, you have to have that. Anyway, this week's Rest of the Community is city car racing. Now these cars are all pre-made. The second ever FailRace Rest of the Community we did was using city cars. Now these have all been built to be as close as possible. They've all been built so they are within half a second a lap around the Iberian short circuit, so that you can have as close a racing as possible, and that's what you need when it comes to these cars. The closer the racing with these, the better it is, and with sort of slow cars like these, you can have some really good racing. And that's why we only have 5 cars, because I've only built up 5. We have the C1, the Igo, the Peugeot 107, the Ford Ka, and the Volkswagen Fox. Now, these have been built very specifically, particularly the Citroens, Igos, and thingy I've forgotten, whatever, them lot. They were built so they don't roll. These cars are terrible for rolling. They are so easy to roll. So I've had to make some minor tweaks to the setup to basically stop them rolling over. Now, the flip side of this is the Citroen, Peugeot and Toyotas do have some lift-off oversteer, which can take a little bit of getting used to. However, that is the price you pay for not falling over at every corner. Each car has its own advantages and own disadvantages. The Citroens, the Toyotas and Peugeots are all faster in a straight line. The Ka is very good overall, while the Fox, despite being a little bit heavier, is better through the corners. So we move on to our first race, which was at the Iberian Short Circuit. Since the cars were designed for this track, might as well use it. Me and Husky started towards the back. You can just see Husky in the background. He is driving the black and grey, Volkswagen Fox. The Foxes really did struggle in the first race at Tsukuba. It was too many straights for them. However, around here they should be a bit better. It is an interesting circuit, the Iberian one. It's a very tough place to overtake, as I give it Igo a little bit of a nudge, and it's even tougher in these cars as there are really not many braking zones. Okay, there are a few tight corners, however, because these cars aren't really that fast, you're not on the brakes for very long, and the less time you're on the brakes, the harder it is to overtake. I was finding ways, like I ran outside of a Volkswagen Fox, and Igo tried to follow me around, but wasn't quite far enough alongside. Yeah, there are places you can overtake around here, but you're going to have to be brave, and you're going to have to really want to get the position, because, yeah, you are very fast. Now, the plus side of this is that you can go sort of side by side with people quite a lot, because these cars have huge levels of grip and they're not really that fast. This is the battle for the lead, as my phone's going off. Everything's going wrong today. There's a battle for the lead, and the Citroen manages to drive around the outside of the Peugeot. Yeah, the Citroen's probably the fastest car here in a straight line, but the most difficult to drive. You do have to be careful with that sort of lift-off oversteer that you can get with some front-wheel drive cars. It's just me trying to stop them from falling over when you breathe on a curb. Like, they really were absolutely terrible. This is a little bit further back. When we run on the races, we have the grid on random, so you can end up absolutely anywhere where you start. So the faster drivers can start at the back, and the slower drivers can start at the front, and you can be trying to work your way through the field, like we see with this Citroen. And it's not necessarily easy to get through when you're driving cars like these. The Citroen's trying to have a look around the outside. It's not quite going to work there, though, as he cuts the corner a little bit. A lot of people will probably never have driven this track, or driven this track very rarely, as it's not a particularly commonly used one. It's too short for normal sort of racing, but with these cars, you know, it's absolutely fine. And yeah, there's good racing normally anyway, wherever you look. in this field. Now we've got 3 cars here all battling over, I think, what's around 8th or 9th place. The KA's trying to go around the outside of the IGO, and with all the grip that these cars have, you can go too wide around corners that you wouldn't necessarily. Admittedly, at the bomb hole section, you do have normal kind of racing go too wide through there, but there are other corners around this track and at other tracks as well. You can hold it too wide where you normally shouldn't. The IGO goes very wide in the background. Again, people are just not quite used to this track. The C1's trying to have a look up the inside. Has he quite got it? No. He backed out of that one. It was a wise decision, otherwise there probably would have been a coming together there. And in the end, the KA runs very wide on the exit of the final corner, and the Citroen can make up the position. Back towards the front, and it was me and Husky who were making the most progress. This time you see me go around the outside of an IGO on the exit of the first corner, and then we're going to go side by side all the way down the bomb hole section. Not quite. I managed to just about get in front. The Foxes were good around here. The Foxes were really quite good. They were probably the least popular of all the cars, probably because they were quite heavy in comparison to the rest. However, they do have very good handling. I'm not quite sure why they're so good. Maybe the extra weight adds a bit of stability to them that you just don't get in these other cars. So yeah, I was under a considerable amount of pressure from Husky's Fox, although in the first race at Tsukuba they really did struggle. Yeah, Husky's a good driver, but he could not keep that thing up with pretty much anybody with these cars. Yeah, they really struggled when it comes to the long straights, but around here they were really rather good. Further back, this is a little bit further into the race. We got a little bit unfortunate with this one. Last time we did it, or the first time, we've done this I think twice before. Both times, the first time was with unmodified ones, but both times we had really exciting racing all throughout. In this one, it got a little bit spread out in the midfield. You see here, everybody was like 100, 200 feet apart, which was a little bit of a shame. They just kind of sort of fell into this sort of pattern, if you like, and we're staying here for the middle of the race. Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting kind of middle. At the front, it was fairly close, but yeah, people just ended up spread out. It's just the way racing goes. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes you aren't all bunched up. This is a little bit further on, and there was a monumental. That's the word. Battle. I believe this is for around 9th or 10th place. The other advantage of these cars is if you do have a little bit of a bump, you don't normally take too much damage, and there weren't very many broken cars. Saying that, there is a KA in the background you'll see here with a smoking engine. But apart from him, there wasn't really a huge amount of damage. Okay, you might get a little bit of aero damage, but yeah, on the most part, it was very, very clean racing. That just comes from the fact these cars are easy to drive. You know, you don't have to have massive driver skill level to keep these things on the road. Anybody can drive these cars, and because of that, anybody can have a good race with somebody else. At the front end, there had been another change of position. The Peugeot had managed to get past the Citroen. I think the Citroen ran very wide at Diabolica, not sure. However, the Peugeot runs wide at second to last corner. We saw that quite a lot from different people. He makes sure to leave plenty of room for the Citroen. It's an easy mistake to make through there. You just carry too much speed through the first part of that, and then you end up on the grass. If you keep your foot in, you are still going to lose time, even if you do cut the corner, because you know you're going across the grass and rejoining the track can be a bit of a pain. So yeah, in doing so, he doesn't actually gain any time. He's already lost a position. So yeah, again, it's just inexperience around this track. Not many people run this track, so yeah, it can be a little bit tricky. The Citroen in front is going very defensive as they go through Diabolica. All the meantime, me and Husky are catching up. You can see the difference in line there. Those two were taken while they were battling compared to me and Husky that were running out wide. I mean, we can get better runs onto this sort of back straight, and you see we're visibly closer now as we go through this section, as the Peugeot runs a little bit wide again, trying to get onto the back of the Citroen. And again, he's going to have compromised his exit, and you'll see me and Husky now right on his tail. We tried to go 3 wide into the first quarter. I kind of chickened out. I got a bit squeezed in the middle of that, and I ended up losing out on the position to Husky. Husky's now looking for a way past the Peugeot. He's looking at the inside, not quite enough room. There's a little bit of a touch there. And then as we run down towards the bomb hole, I'm on the outside this time round. Yeah, even in cars like these, you've got to be a little bit careful when you're running side by side. The car on the inside doesn't move over too much. Husky gives me plenty of room. As we run through Diabolica, I was taking a very, very wide line. I was planning on getting the best drive I could out onto this sort of back straight. Husky's now up the inside of the Peugeot as they come into, I don't even know what to call this sort of section. I then try to follow through, and ooh, just close enough. Yeah, it's a tough place to overtake through that sort of section, as there really is no braking at all. I think there might be a little bit of a lift. I don't know if I don't think we could quite take it flat out. Yeah, it's very, very tough to overtake through there. As you saw, I tried. In the end, the Peugeot ran very wide out of the first corner, which saw me able to pull up alongside and get past. And now it's back to me battling with Husky as we come down the bomb hole section. I get a little bit sideways as I clip the curb. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite as polite as Husky. I do apologise. I thought I was further in front than I was. Gave him a little bit of a tap. I'm sorry for that one. It wasn't intentional. Yeah, it's just a small tap. Put Husky out a little bit wide, and that now leaves me to chase down the leader. I think I had 1 lap to go in the background. You can see Husky is finding, I'll get very sideways there, Husky was finding his way past the Peugeot. So yeah, I had 1 lap, I think, to get onto the back of the leader, and Husky's still side by side with the Peugeot. He's managed to get it done as they come into the first corner. These Citroens, they're good cars. I like the Citroen. Of all the cars I built, the Citroen is the best for my driving style. However, I think the KA might be a little bit quicker overall, as it's just a nicer car to drive. You don't have to be quite as gentle with it as you do with this. As we come up towards Diabolica for the final time, Husky is sort of closing on me the entire time, but I'm closing on the leader. I get a really good run out of this corner. Husky and the Peugeot both run wide, trying to catch up to me. Now, I haven't really got much chance to overtake now. I've got so much more speed through here. I've got an excellent run onto that back straight, but there isn't really much chance to overtake. I then jump the curb a little bit, and then there's not a huge amount of room. However, the Citroen in front of me just gets that bit of oversteer at the wrong time, and I managed to dive my car up the inside, and I did take the win by the smallest of margins. It really was a very, very close race. I can't believe I managed to get that win on the final corner. I do apologise to Husky as well for a little bit of a collision. Further back, and we have probably my overtake of the entire evening. We have a Volkswagen Fox going around the outside of 2 corners, and that's a hard place to go around the outside of both of them, and then finds himself on the inside for the next corner. And this is all for like 8th or 9th or something, quite a way down, and manages to get the position on the IGO. Yeah, that's a tough place to go around the outside of somebody. Because yeah, they're 2 sort of quite long left-handers, and to stay wide through there is some very good driving. The KAs were also incredibly close across the line. We move on to our final race. This was at the Rally de Postinato, however it's pronounced, I don't know, racetrack. We've never run this in versus the community because it's far too dangerous with normal cars, because everybody would end up crashing. However, with these, I thought it was safe-ish. I was going to give it a try anyway and see what happens. Ignore the rather laggy white car there. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I don't think his engine was damaged. I think that's just a glitchy replay, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, as we run through these first corners, though, everybody is pretty much side by side. Everybody was really well behaved as well through the opening section. I was afraid there was going to be a massive smash up through the first, I guess, kind of chicaney bit. That's normally when there's a crash on this track, but everybody got through there with only minor contact, and I now find myself battling with a Peugeot and a fellow Citroen, and we're 3 wide. Husky's battling with somebody in the background. I think Husky ends up coming off a bit damaged in all of that. However, up here, I was under quite a lot of pressure from a greeny grey, I'm not even sure, what colour is that? Citroen, anybody know? I'm not entirely sure. And in the end, I find myself on the outside, not where I really want to be. I keep fighting, I keep trying to remain on the outside so I can get the inside for the next corner. In the end, though, it's just sort of too much to ask for my car. Yeah, I was really surprised at how much good racing we had here. This is a track notorious for instances the Peugeot in front of us goes very, very sideways. It's incredibly hard to have a race around this track. There is no pit lane, so if you do smack your car into the wall or there is an accident, then you cannot fix it. It's a very tricky track to race around. You just cannot make any mistakes. Like with all street circuits, really, there's just no room for error. We're going to try and go 3 wide. You could not do this in any other cars, I don't think, going 3 wide through that hairpin. In the end, I end up coming worse off in the background. I don't know what happened there. There was a spinning red something. I don't know what car it was. Yeah, I guess he probably got assisted, or he tried using the handbrake. Never use handbrake in a race. It just doesn't work. Anyway, the battle up here was all very, very exciting and highly interesting, shall we say, first lap. for these cars. I feared it would be a much more of a crash fest than it was, but no, it had been a very, very clean first lap. Well, at least that was for us. You will notice that there was a rather slow-moving sort of pink, I don't know, what colour is this? Burgundy? Sort of reddy, pinky? I don't know, whatever. There's a very bright pink Igo behind him. But yeah, this was the battle for the lead between two of the KAs. I think this track probably suits the KAs quite well. Whereas the Tsukuba sort of suited the Peugeots and the Citroens and so on. This is a good one for the KAs. It's a bit more of a sort of, you do need a bit of speed, but you need quite a lot of handling as well. Yeah, the two KAs are battling away, the side by side for sort of half a lap, and there's too much curb, and he's managed to roll it. That's the problem with these cars. You've got to be so careful. You can see the Peugeots and Citroens are able to just about get away with the curbs. KA, unfortunately, didn't get away with it this time. And drops back. He didn't take too much damage. I think there's a bit of engine and there is some aero in there, but his car is still mobile. He's quite lucky to land on his wheels. If you'd been stuck up there, it would have been rather problematic. Husky, as I said, got a bit broken at some point. Not entirely sure when. I think he was on the opening couple of laps, and he had some engine damage. The blue Peugeot, he was battling up with us. I think he had a spin on his own. But even with a broken car, Husky was still fighting, was still trying to make it hard for the Peugeot to find a way past. Again, this is a very tough track to overtake on. The final corner is probably your best bet unless you're going to be brave and go too wide through one of these corners, which these guys look like they're going to try and do. The Peugeot can't quite get it past there. Yeah, this is a tough track to overtake on. If you're stuck behind a slower car, you're probably going to be stuck there for a while unless you can suddenly make an amazing move somewhere. You can get a pass done through here, but it's a tough place to overtake on. I quite like driving this track. It's quite a challenge, having the walls so close, and yeah, you really cannot make a mistake here. It's also quite tricky following a car very closely, especially through that first section, through that first chicane. But even around these bits here, you don't want to follow a car too closely because you won't be able to see the track well enough in front of you. The pink Igo there just got it a little bit wrong. That's another notorious corner for claiming damaged cars. Just take a little bit too much speed through the first section, and then you're going to smack the wall in the second. You can see in the background, this battle goes on for the entire race, pretty much from the go. This entire sort of 10-minute race. This Igo and Citroen are locked together in a battle. The Citroen, I think, was a little bit quicker. It just couldn't find a way past. Because, as I said, it's so hard to overtake. Citroen's having a look around the outside. You're not going to do that through there. And then the Igo find themselves covering the inside. Of course, as they're battling, they're going to be slowing each other down. And look who's come to join. Hey, I can join it. We're joining the fun. They also are catching up to the pink Igo that was struggling, I suspect, with a bit of damage from clouting the wall. That was a pretty heavy impact. As you saw a little bit earlier, the Igos get together a little bit and sort of slides around a bit. The Citroen gets up the inside. They're going to go 3 wide again through another part of the track. I've never seen cars try to go 3 wide, and everybody somehow gets away with it. Another car rolled at some point, not entirely sure when that was. I would also like to thank the people with the broken cars who did a very good job of keeping themselves out of trouble and getting out of the way as cars went past. The one big downside to running this track, not only is it very tight, very twisty, and often has many accidents, yeah, you can't repair your car. We came into the hairpin there. The pink car, I think, missed his braking point and panicked me, and I ended up sort of scraping the side of the Citroen. I sort of rolled out of the brake to try and avoid being clouted by the pink car, and gave the sort of grey-greeny Citroen a bit of a tap. Further back, and we had the battle of the Peugeots. The rally liveried one had fallen back. I think he had clouted a wall somewhere, had a mistake, and broken his car. As you can see, he's struggling to pull away. I'm not entirely sure what was wrong with this car, or maybe he was just in the wrong gear. These cars weren't really geared for this track. They were never intended to race around here. I just thought it'd be a fun idea to see what happened, and the gearing isn't really very good for this track. So yeah, if you're in the wrong gear, you are going to be in trouble. But by the looks of it, I think his car's a bit damaged as well. It was very easy to just sort of smack a wall somewhere and then have considerable aero damage. Husky was still fighting, trying to find his way past this Peugeot. Hasn't quite managed to do it. But yeah, like on the normal track, you saw Iberian, a track that people, like, you don't normally necessarily drive here, whereas at the Iberian circuit, if you got it wrong, you just ran across the grass, you were fine. On here, if you got it wrong, you clouted a wall. And while these cars, aren't amazingly fast, you're still going to do some damage to them. So yeah, there were a few broken cars in this race, as expected, but not the sort of the huge crashes that I feared might occur. I had managed to clear the Igo and the Citroen, but their battle was still raging on. They were locked in an entire complete race-long battle between these two. The pink Igo was trying to get in on the action as well. Of course, they are slowing each other down quite a lot. In this, you've seen how fast I managed to escape up the road. The Citroen briefly held the lead, or held the lead of this battle, and then promptly lost it straight away to the Igo. The pink Igo, I do know colours, honest, was also having a bit of a sniff at that. I'm just going to have a drink. Hold on, bear with me. Oh dear, that's better. Now my throat might survive the rest of the video. Yeah, these two had a massive battle. It was great fun watching this. And we come through the first section again. You're not going to overtake through here. Thank you to the backmarkers for doing their best. It's really hard. Not only is it really hard to see when cars are coming if you haven't got the map on, it's also really hard to get out of the way because there's not really anywhere to go on the most part around this track. The Citroen's going to have a dive up the inside as the Igo just ran a little bit too wide, and for now the Citroen is in front. However, he eclipsed the wall and got it a little bit too sideways through there and promptly lost the position again. With me clear of that Igo Citroen battle, I had 2 laps to catch up to the leader. The leader had a humongous lead over us because we'd all been sort of battling away with each other. So I had 2. You know when you kind of just get into that groove and you were doing just ridiculously fast laps with your cars? I was doing that for these next 2 laps. I was pushing this thing like crazy. This is on the final lap, I believe. And I was getting absolutely everything and a little bit more out of this car. I really was trying to do everything I could. I think I was catching about 1.5 seconds a lap up to the leader. I was trying everything. I got on 2 wheels and brushed the wall. That was how hard I was trying. However, there just wasn't enough time. I ran out of laps and couldn't catch up to the KA, who had drove a little bit conservative. I think he got slightly scared when he watched the same car as him roll alongside him. Yeah, I think he drove a little bit conservatively in the final few laps. However, he held his nerve and he went on to take the win. Yeah, it was a great race, this one. I love driving these cars, particularly these cars around here. It's huge amounts of fun. They got no speed, but they have loads of grip, great brakes, and you can just chuck them around the course. And on the most part, you'll be all right. Further back, yeah, you guessed it, these two were still at it. They managed to get up to 3rd and 4th. The white Igo fell behind them. I'm not quite sure what happened to the pink car. He dropped quite a long way back, probably further damage. As they run into the final corner, the Citroen is still trying everything he can to get past the Igo. He's going to try to go around the outside, but he's going to run out of time, and they finish in 3rd and 4th. Yeah, that was probably the most exciting battle of the entire race. It was also quite exciting for Husky on his final lap. I think this is for 7th and 8th. The Peugeot is currently in 7th and gets everything wrong into the final corner. Didn't realise there was such a big curve there. I suspect he didn't either until he hit it. And the Peugeot ends up on its side and unfortunately is not going to finish as he slowly, maybe with enough time it would have rolled all the way to the finish. But yeah, Husky gets an easy position as he goes up into 7th. All in all, it was really good fun. I love racing these cars. They are so silly amounts of fun. The tunes for all of these can be found on my FailRace account storefront, so you can download them and have a go with them, have a go at racing them. It always generates great racing. Doesn't matter who you're racing with. If you get some friends together and race these cars, you're guaranteed to have some good racing. Because yeah, it's just the way they are. They're so easy to drive. Anybody can do fairly good lap times with them. However, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. So thank you very much for watching. The next one is still going to be on Forza 4. While I had initially planned to do this on Forza 5, we cannot save multiplayer replays, so it's going to be on Forza 4 for the foreseeable future. The cars we are going to be using are B-Class rally cars. So, you know, your Subarus, your Evos, your Lancias, your Celicas, all of that kind of thing. You guys know what cars have been used in rallying. I'm not going to accept 911s. Yes, they did race in a couple, but they've got to be sort of proper rally cars. You know what I mean. There's so many, to be a pain putting a list up, but you know, I'm sure you can figure it out. For this, I'm going to say no drivetrain swaps. So if you are going to run a Subaru, if you're going to run an Evo, you're going to have to run them four-wheel drive. However, you can run a Lancia Stratos or Renault 5 Turbo, and they can be rear-wheel drive. I am going to ban the Lancia 037 because it's on the leaderboards. It's a fairly dominant C-class car, and it's on quite a few leaderboards in B-class, and I don't want there just to be a sea of Lancia 037s turning up. So I'm going to ban the Lancia, but any other rally car is perfectly okay. And that's pretty much it. You've got to keep the drivetrain the same, but you can do whatever else you like to the upgrades to have it in B class. This event is going to be held on the, I'm just going to look at the calendar again, I always forget to check, the 28th of November. It will start at 7 PM GMT time. If you wish to sign up and take part in this event, then you can go to our forums. I'll put a link in the description. You go to the Versus the Community section in the sign up bit, and that is where you submit your entry. I think I've covered everything, and I think my voice has survived, which is really quite a miracle. I didn't expect it to. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.